A very good evening to you, and thank you for joining us here on Eurosport 2. We're here at Le Mans for the 80th edition of the 24-hour car race, and the cars, as you can hear, are just whizzing around the Circuit de la Sarthe ahead of this weekend's race. It's qualifying that's just started. We've also got more qualifying later on Eurosport as well, and Le Mans 24 minutes a little bit later on at 9:30. So obviously you've got to stay with us because we've got lots of action, and we've got someone special who's joined us here. It is, of course, the 8-time champion, Tom Christensen. Tom, great to see you. It's obviously, the build-up has taken place ahead of today. You finally got into the cars. How does it feel to go around the Circuit de la Sarthe?
It's nice now. Finally, all these days since scrutineering, a lot of people has arrived here, but everyone is keen to get the session underway. I actually haven't been out yet. Indo is doing the setup optimizations with the boys in the background at the moment, but it's really good to get out there.
We know what happened last year. We don't need to go into too many details regarding, obviously, the incident concerning Alan Magnussen. You didn't get out last year, of course. I mean, but this is a year on. I mean, how have you prepared for this for 2012?
Now you prepare with a lot of intense work in detail over the year, preparing for the biggest race of them all. And with Audi, we now have 2 E-Tort Quattros, and we have the 2 Ultras. So in that sense, we have optimized a lot. We have tested. We have done well at the 12 hours of Sebring, and now we are here for the big one. And unfortunately, Peugeot is not here, but so is Toyota. And look, they have done a fantastic job. The cars looks really good, and they are fast. So we wish for nothing better than tough competition, and a lot of brilliant privateers takes on the task of going the first over 24 hours.
How important is it, Tom, to have competition, up at the top level with of course, Toyota coming in to compete and Peugeot just abandoning their plans for 2012?
Le Mans is Le Mans. It's the 24 hours of the hardest race of them all, and in that sense, we have to put a lot of respect and be humble in everything. But for sure, competition, everyone wants to win under the toughest competition possible. It's the best for everyone. It's the best for the fans. It's the best for what we try to prove, to be a good team, to be strong drivers with great technology and cars.
And what about your team? I mean, it's the same team. It's the same team spirit. We had you in the show, of course, earlier this week. Alan Magnussen, Dindo Capello. I mean, you guys, you're like a family now.
We're like a family, but I think our boss, Dr. Ulrich, have chosen a lot of good drivers, and this year we are coming with 4 cars. That's the first time that Audi Team US comes with 4 cars. And I think we have a great mutual respect and a lot of fighting spirit within all 12 drivers, or 13 I would say, because Timo Bernhard is unfortunately not here after his test crash in Sebring. So Mark Jenner is here instead. But all 13 drivers have a very good feeling together, and we want to take on the very best.
Does this send shivers down your spine when you know that it's qualifying? It's, this is the real deal now.
No, this is free practice. Qualifying starts later. And of course everyone, and tomorrow night as well, is qualifying. But these 3 sessions is important, but as it's a race over 24 hours, qualifying means a little bit less. It means something for the Friday, but after that we have to make sure that we have a good and efficient race car, and that's what we are working on in these minutes.
You're motivated?
Oh, bet you are. We all are.
Thanks, Tom Christensen. It's been a pleasure as usual. Well, good luck anyway. We'll see you a little bit later on during the week, of course. Enjoy your driving. Tom Christensen, 8 times winner with the Audi 2, of course, the new hybrid. We're going to go across and join the commentators now for the live action.
Well,
Well, a very warm welcome to you. We are at Le Mans, as you can see, unrivaled coverage of this, the 80th anniversary of the great race. And as you can see, the track already not exactly full, but being tested. On board with one of the Toyota hybrids, which we'll be talking an awful lot about. Hopefully, anyway, by the end of the race this coming weekend. It's a quality grid, and with two works teams here as well to battle it out. Thank heaven Toyota stood up to the mark, because they're hopefully going to give Audi a run for their money. It may well be a question of reliability for all bar the Audis, one suspects. We'll see how they go. You join us live on Eurosport for the opening practice session. We've got qualifying a little bit later on. My name's Carlton Kirby. Alongside me, Mark Cole and Liz Halliday as well. Guys, you may as well just say hello.
Yeah, hi everyone. Welcome. Mark Cole here. My 30th Le Mans I'm celebrating this year. 80th, as Carlton just said. Probably 29 years too long, my colleagues are telling me. But as Carlton just said, the Toyota's going to be the dark horse this weekend. We lost Peugeot, of course. French firm having financial difficulties. Toyota stepped up to the mark a year earlier than planned, and Liz, I have to say, from the test weekend they proved mightily effective, haven't they?
Yeah, no, I think they've got a different sort of plan for this weekend. They know that they've come out of the box really early on. They've not had the testing they want to do, but they've got the speed that could possibly put them on pole and perhaps lead the race for a while. So I think they're being very realistic, and there's sort of an underlying feeling of, well, we're probably not going to finish, but let's try and prove something while we do and give Audi someone to race with and something to think about for the future.
Well, that'd be great. Reliability, it's what it's all about, and no bigger test of exactly that than Le Mans itself. 40 rookies as well here, and if you want new, how about this? Yes. A rather unusual, as you can see, it looks like a sort of a police diagram that the cars stop upon in front of their pit box, and this one's got a rather sharp aspect to it. If you're only just for the first time seeing this DeltaWing, then welcome to the surprise party. It is quite an amazing machine. It's been out there, as you can see. They've got a lot of testing still to be done. They've only been just over 100 days in development, so quite remarkable that the first time it turned a wheel was well, not very long ago at all. How long it goes for, we don't know. What an impact it will be in the future, we don't know. In fact, we don't know much about it at all, except the fact that it looks absolutely fabulous.
It does, doesn't it? Here's another great-looking car, the Stracker, now moved up into LMP1. Danny Watts at the wheel at the moment, wearing those helmet colours of Oxford United Football Club. Danny from my home village. I know his family's here this weekend. His dad and brother are here to cheer them on. And I have to say, I was talking this morning to the Rebellion team, the Rebellion Lola team, who've been the front runners in LMP1 petrol this year, and their biggest fear is Stracker. They think Stracker is going to be so fast this year.
But one thing about Stracker is they have really stepped up to LMP1 this year. They've been really, really successful in LMP2, of course. We've seen them on the podium, but can they manage the step up in LMP1, especially with Nick Leventis being really the only amateur driver in the entire P1 class? It's going to be a big challenge for him. Let's see if he can step up to the mark.
Absolutely. Well, Stracker, they'll probably be measuring themselves against JRM. That's really the benchmark between the pair of them. We're talking petrol, of course, as part of the LMP1 class, possibly a class amongst their own. There have been moves over the years to equalize the difference between the petrol and the diesel machines, but as you can see, that little word hybrid upon your screen as well, it's also throwing in yet another differential to conjure with on this weekend.
Yeah, what we mean by hybrid, of course, is using other energy sources other than petrol or diesel, which cars have conventionally have. In the case of Toyota we're looking at the moment, they've got a Denso capacitor battery on board that car. They're charging up under braking. There's 7 braking zones on the circuit, as we just see the 49 car there. Problem rolling to, he's trying to get into the pit lane there. Just to finish what we're saying about hybrids, the Toyota gets its charge through the braking effects at those 7 zones, charges up a battery that then releases extra power into the rear wheels. The Audi is the exact opposite. They are releasing their power, which is stored in a Williams flywheel in the cockpit next door to the driver, and those go into the front wheels, effectively making it the first ever four-wheel drive car since the Porsche 959, going back many, many years.
That is an awful long time ago, Liz. How effective it's going to be, I do not know. It's very short bursts of energy for that machine.
It is. It only comes into effect at about 120 kilometers per hour, and only briefly, I understand. And they were asking Alan McNish in an interview, you know, how much difference does this really make? Because everybody's talking about, wow, four-wheel drive. And he said, well, actually, it's not that huge of a difference from the driver's perspective. However, if we get a wet race, that's when we saw some real leaps and bounds at Spa, and I think that's where this race could get very exciting.
Well, it's all about capacitors and flywheels. We'll do our level best.
It's like something from Back to the Future, doesn't it?
Yeah, so it's going to be delivered more calmly, I think you might say, as far as the R18 is concerned. A bit more of a boost from the capacitors. I think Autosport described it as a bit like an old flash for your camera. It takes time to build up and then wallop. It will hit you. We'll see. Just looking at the 49 car, still a little stranded in the hands of Perez Compact. We'll try and get an update on that for you back in a moment. Welcome back. The Beacon racing machine, incidentally, is just being pushed back to its pit box. We think it possibly is just a fuel issue. We'll see. Nakajima-san looks like he's heading back into the garage as well. Don't forget, Mark, this session you find out an awful lot about the car. Just because they get pushed back into the garage itself does not necessarily spell disaster.
No, this is exactly as it says on the label. This is practice session. Qualifying is tonight here at 10 o'clock local time through to midnight. And that's crucial tonight because, as you mentioned earlier, 40 rookie drivers. All those 40 drivers have got to do a minimum of 5 laps in the dark, either tonight or tomorrow night. And Liz, you came here to Le Mans for the first time. That must be something that really sort of, you just must be saying, get me in the car, I've got to get those night laps.
It is very, very stressful because this track is so long. It actually is quite a long lap, so you've got to think to yourself, it's not like you're getting it done, you know, a tiny little circuit like Brands Hatch. You've got to be out there for a while and make sure the car is running to get your rookie laps in, really. So yeah, I think it is a lot of stress. Le Mans is a big deal for any driver, and these, you know, 40 rookie drivers this year, that's a huge amount, and it's a big awe-inspiring moment to take to the track at Le Mans during the qualifying to begin with, and I hope they just all keep it tidy and bring it around.
I hope so. Just looking at Marcel Faster and the e-tron Quattro, it's rather disturbing when you get on board. At first I thought it was scrambled radio that was coming back at us, but I think it's actually part of the zones where they retrieve some energy, and you hear it sounds a bit like a high-pitched version of cutlery being dropped into a tin bath. And yeah, I think it's the only way I can describe it. It's very spooky when you get on board. I missed that. Who are we seeing?
Going for an interview. Yeah,
we're heading for one. Not quite sure who it is. Just
it'll
for the
be a
time.
surprise.
Yeah, we'll chase up those braking zones when we come back from the interview, because we've got quite a lot about them here, and it's going to be quite an important part of the race strategy. So,
Anthony Davidson, brief chat. Here he is.
Anthony, the guys are working on the car since a few minutes now. Can you tell us more about what happened earlier?
Yeah, I had a loss of power and looked in the rear mirror. I could see the smoke coming, so decided to pull off and turn the engine off, and then make my way back with the car on the back of the truck back to the pit. So they're working on the car now.
This is something you already experienced in the previous test, or do you know exactly what happened?
No, we don't know. We're still looking into it at the moment. So yeah, all we know is there was a severe problem with the drivetrain, with the powertrain unit. So I don't know exactly what yet. So have to find out from the team later on.
Thanks a lot.
Anthony Davidson then drafted at late notice into Toyota, of course. one of the Peugeot refugees, along with Stefan Sarazan. Sebastian Bourdais, the other newcomer in that car. Now, we're talking just before that interview about the hybrids, and Liz, they've marked out 7 braking zones which have been agreed with the teams. It's up to the teams to respect them, but just tell us roughly where they are around Le Mans.
Well, I mean, I think the most important thing to make clear to everybody is that none of these teams, they haven't experienced yet this level of braking at any circuits. I know that was being discussed. What we have at Le Mans is very, very long straights, longer than virtually any other track that these cars would be on. And I think they've been discussing what it's going to be like under the really heavy braking, because they've not totally experienced that yet. And the drivers are going to have to alternate the way they drive a little bit to work with these cars, because they react differently under different levels of braking. This is what I've heard. So it could be interesting to see how they deal with that. Obviously, they've put extremely experienced drivers in these cars for that very reason.
They're getting a sudden 200 brake horsepower surge. Audi through the front wheels, Toyota through the rear wheels to add to the 600 plus they've already got. I mean, looking at the run from Mulsanne down to Indianapolis, 337 kilometres an hour Toyota were pulling there at the test weekend. They then got to go into that braking area, and how much kinetic energy are they going to build up? How quickly? Oh,
it's going to be amazing, and it's one of those interesting braking areas where you're going very fast around a corner and then needing to brake almost while you're finishing the turn. So if that braking sensation is going to be different, that's another thing they're going to have to deal with, is having that slight bit of turn on the wheel, perhaps in a traffic situation. So I will be interested to see how each team deals with this.
And of course, the fascinating one is going to be the exit from Indianapolis. They've only got, 100 metres or 200 metres down to the tightest corner on the course, which is Arnage, and they're going to have full power, aren't they?
They are, to the tightest, and also the notoriously most slippery corner on the track as well. So, I'm looking forward to getting down to the pits and chatting to some of these guys now they've had a really good go at it today, and see what they think.
Excellent. Well, there we are. The Marcel Fassel at the moment fastest, along with Dindo Capello and Romain Dumas in the 3 Audis. Cars number 1, 2 and 3, fittingly, all dipping into the 327s, but they're still 2 seconds off the pace they had at the test weekend. Again, just to stress, this is practice at the moment. The real action is going to be starting here at 10 o'clock tonight, 9 o'clock UK time.
I think that's the point, Mark. We may well see some surprising times here today. There could be some cars with, thinking particularly amongst the petrol-driven vehicles within LMP1, may well just go out there for a bid for glory, and this is one of those that could do exactly that. Don't worry too much about the Lotus livery. It's a bit of a marketing ploy, I'm afraid to tell you. Yes, Lotus with plenty of troubles at the moment, and if you're going to wave your flag broadly, then why not do it here? Glorious in its gold and black. The old JPS days. I'm not allowed to translate that these days due to restrictions on tobacco advertising. However, I can tell you it is a beautiful liveried vehicle, and this is one of those, Liz, that could go out there and really, in fact both going out right now, really lay it down. As we switch back to the DeltaWing here, you think you've seen this before in a movie?
Well, I reckon it looks like something you'd see Batman driving, and actually Batman would look pretty cool in that. Now this is an interesting situation with this car. This is the first time that this sort of car has ever been allowed. It's what the ACO decided to have, cars displaying new technologies. It was announced in 2011, but they had no takers, or nobody accepted, one of the two, I don't really know. But this is the first year they've actually had a car filling that Garage 56, which, and they were just having a look here at their interesting little lineup. Yeah. That does look like a police line, but
it does, yeah.
But this means that this car will not actually be racing for contention. It's important that everybody understands that. They're racing to show their new technology, showcase what is perhaps the future of sustainability in racing, amongst other things, but the car will not be in contention.
Mark, it's a massive leap forward of imagination, I think you might say, and contrast that really with the way Audi approached this whole thing. They've been here for such a long time. It's been a very, very slow and deliberate process. Others are kind of hurrying along. I think possibly Toyota have been overly hurried into this game. But as far as this is concerned, this is almost like fantasy land. It's fantastic.
I'm just going to remind you of what Liz said, a phrase Liz used earlier, Back to the Future. 1963, those of us who were actually alive in those days, Rover BRM turbine came here to Le Mans, and they ran as 0-0, and they weren't allowed to race for results. It's Graham Hill and Richard Ginther on board, and this is a tribute to that. The DeltaWing Nissan is just running 0 as a tribute to that. So in effect we are going back, but we talk about that being the future, but surely Audi and Toyota also represent the future. Road cars perhaps in 5 years time could have all this stuff fitted as standard.
Big pregnant clouds, as you can see, hanging over Le Mans. That's been a big issue today. And indeed, in the build-up to this great event, I believe we've got Sebastian Bourdais.
Starting the big race, the big moment. Can you tell us a bit more about you, this team, and the race?
Yeah, well, first laps in the dome around Le Mans, so a good feeling. I wasn't there for the pre-qualifying session, so it's good to discover it. I think we're pretty lucky with the weather, so everything's going fine. Did a couple of laps and pretty happy. The balance is not perfect, but the car is comfortable to drive and decently fast, so it's going pretty good so far.
It's very early for the moment, but what are you working on, especially before the qualifying right now?
Really, qualifying doesn't mean anything, so we're just trying to make to get the car to the level that it's pretty fast and that it's easy to drive, where everybody's happy with the balance and it feels like you can push the car, and so we're running full tanks, and so it's basically just to try and prep the race up, and then a good race car usually is a fast car around here, so then you run less fuel and put new tires on and hope not to get jammed in traffic.
It's a new project for you this year. What are your expectations?
I think we have to keep everything in perspective. Obviously, we're running a privateer effort with a gasoline engine is not the fastest combination, but the guys have worked really hard, both in Japan and here at the shop at Pescarolo Sport. So pretty happy with everything that's happened so far. They definitely took the car to another step. This car was designed for 2008 regulation, big power, big downforce, and so there was a lot to do when we picked the car up from the beginning. And I think everybody's pretty happy. It's decently fast. The target is really to try and challenge the HPDs and the Rebellions. If we can do that and beat them, I think we'll be very happy with ourselves.
Thanks a lot. We'll come to you later.
Sebastian Bourdais talking about, well, I hope you heard it, because we certainly didn't. We've got some real sound issues at the moment, so just bear with us in that regard. But I think what I could just about hear out of that was that it's a long project. They've got some big names. There's none bigger in France, really, than Sebastian Bourdais, and indeed Pescarolo, particularly in this part of the world. They're both local boys. They've come together. It would be almost a dream package, I think, if they went well, Mark.
Yeah, of course. And his father, Patrick, who's also from Le Mans, he's raced here in the past. But Sebastian, just to say something right, he was asked then by Justine, I think it was, said this is a new car. It's not quite a new car, the dome. It's new to Pescarolo, but this is the same dome, the white one that ran here 2 years ago, which was run by the Tokyo University, remember, and impressed everyone. Great to see it back. Very, very pretty car. And in fact, Liz, I'd say it's one of the best looking cars here at Le Mans this year.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And it's nice to see so many different makes of car this year. It's a really broad variety in all classes this time. And quite often we don't see that. We've got lots of different engine packages, but specifically a lot of different types of car. I think we have 7 different marks in just LMP2, am I right?
It's extraordinary, yeah. And we look, as we're listening to Sebastian, we're actually looking at the number 16 Pescarolo, Judd, and that car, of course, is what was last year's ill-fated ARM1, the car that only ran 2 cars, ran 7 laps in total in the race. Henri's put his money where his mouth is with the help of Roland Goethe, who's one of the Aston Martin investors, and they have turned that car, here it is again, into the Pescarolo 03 Judd, they're calling it now.
Yes, this is in fact the 16 car, which has our very own Stuart Hall, who will be enjoying life fairly shortly. I think it's Collard who's on board at the moment, just hooking back into Audi here. I absolutely love these headlamps. I don't know what, it's almost like a garden shed with something rather strange growing inside. The light cluster within is just amazing, and you'll certainly know they're coming, let's put it that way, which is probably a good thing after the start last year, which we're not dwelling on. HPD and Honda, Mark.
Yeah, Danny Watts, the man from Thornborough. Look at that huge Union Jack. That's for the Queen's Jubilee, of course, which was last weekend. For those of you who live in Britain and listening in Britain, that was a great weekend, wasn't it? And here we are at Le Mans then. Danny Watts just loving every moment of this. He won here, remember, 2 years ago in LMP2, and they want to do it again this year. It have to be the petrol division, of course. They're not going to beat Audi, whatever they do. But wouldn't it be great to see them win petrol?
Yeah, I think that petrol battle, Liz, is going to be one of the hottest out there. We've got so many battles to talk about, to be honest. It's probably a good job that we're here all week.
Yeah, no, I think it is. And I think the battles all round are going to be really good this year. And even though we don't have Peugeot, which is, is a disaster for the Le Mans race itself at the front of the grid, of course, but we've got 4 Audis this year, the most they've ever entered in the race. And in fact, they're sort of 2 different Audis almost, like they're going to be battling themselves. We've got Toyota in the mix, and then, like you say, the huge petrol battle at the back there. well, it's not at the back, the back of LMP1. But no, I think we could still be in for a very exciting Le Mans 24 Hours.
I'm very much looking forward to it. And when you cast your mind, we haven't really seen too much of the GTs here. We have a Pro and an AM division. There's the lovely Sebastian Bourdais, also known as Seabass. Oh, yeah. Do you know why? Stepped out of the car when he was racing for Newman House when he'd set pole and said, "I am Seabass." And what the chief engineer said, "You're a Seabass?" And it stuck. So he was known as Seabass from that moment on. And if you listen to our friends at Radio Le Mans, they don't call him anything else.
And one of 4 drivers racing this weekend who've also raced in the Indy 500, incidentally. So
there you go.
Another little gem there.
Yeah, a lovely
little happy
statoid.
facts there.
Isn't that a beautiful looking car?
You want to know who the others are, don't you? Just asking me.
Go on then.
Miss Nastian Fernandez and Bertrand Baguette.
Bertie Baguette.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Bread.
Yeah, Mr. Bread. Straight fresh out of Formula Renault 3.5 into Indy 500 last year. So, here we are, GTs. You're just complaining you hadn't seen enough, Carlton. Over to you.
And as if by magic, here they come. The Pro division, I think it's possibly worth describing what the difference is between the Pro and the AM, because they both have Pros and AMs within them. Moderately confusing, you might say, but 2 clear divisions. And if you look at the timing screens, there are just a little bit of intermingling, but the top 3 at the moment, it's Ferrari, Porsche. We have got Aston Martins in the mix, and we do, of course, have Corvettes here as well. The mighty Brundle has been by a couple of times. In fact, we're just looking out of our commentary position here as they return to the start, finish straight. We're going to take a break and we'll have more on that magnificent sound. We're all busy getting ringtones recorded as they go by. We'll see you in a few moments. Welcome back. One of the Corvettes just getting a brief clean-up. We have Mr. Andre Lotterer about to have a brief word with us, I understand. Let's hope that we can hear him as well as you can back home. We've had a few linkage issues, so if we sound a bit blank as to what they've been saying, I hope you'll understand why. We'll get those ironed out before the end of hopefully this practice session. We've got qualifying later on this evening, don't forget. There will be a hiatus of a couple of hours. More on that in a moment. Here is Andre.
It's the first lap in Le Mans. How do you feel? How exciting are you to start this race here?
It's nice to be back in Le Mans. We were here for the pre-test, of course, but now the real thing is starting. You know, I've been here since Sunday with everything, with the scrutineering, and now we're excited to be driving again. So running smooth at the moment, testing a lot of things, and looking forward to getting in the car after Marcel.
It's just the first session. What exactly are you working on to test? What are you testing exactly?
You know, obviously we have a big challenge now with the hybrid. So we're trying a lot of setups out, which is the best efficiency for us. We're also trying to check our fuel consumption, and which is really important as well is to check the mileage we can do with our tires. We have different compounds, so we have to check this as well, and at the same time improving the car bit by bit.
Andre Lotterer just talking about yes, checking out tire wear, fuel ranges, that kind of thing. Apparently they are achieving 1 extra lap than they did last year with the new system on board, which bodes very, very well for Audi. I think it's possibly not going to be a question of if Audi will win or not, but which one, and that may well come down to weather conditions, because apparently the e-tron Quattro is pretty good when it's wet, and apparently it's probably going to be this weekend. We'll come back to that in a moment. First, we left hanging in the air the ProAm. Mark.
Yeah, just to be very clear about it, Pro-Am is for current year's cars, and drivers can all be of platinum or gold status. That's the top end of international racing. However, you get down to Pro-Am, sorry, GTE Am, so GT Pro and GTE Am. You get down to Am, cars must be at least a year old, and you must have on board at least 2 other drivers other than platinum or gold, but which is silver or bronze. So simple as that.
Well, I think it's a nice idea. It's something that was started last year for the first time, and it's great because it means that you can have some of these cars with the more amateur drivers and then actually have a shot at a podium, and you know, can actually race and feel like they're not just scrabbling along behind all the pros. You know, but even in these amateur categories, the AM category, we've got some guys that have done it rather sneakily because yes, I'm an amateur, but I've seen a few guys that I've raced against over the years and thought, really? I mean, they could be pros. And I think the clever guys have done that. They've meshed in that happy medium of gradings, but really all their amateurs can drive.
I mean, I cannot believe that Raymond Narak is still rated as no more than a silver driver. He's won Le Mans GT2, he won at Spa 3 weeks ago, and here he is still as a silver driver. I'd say that guy should be a pro.
But we get this in LMP2 as well with that grading, you know, but it's down to the experience level that the ACO deems, I think, as the experience. But yeah, I think the clever guys have stuck in a happy mixture of very, very fast silver, quote-unquote, rated.
Yeah, and remember, Raymond Narak is French. He's from Rouen, and he's sponsored by Matmut, who is one of the members of the syndicate of the ACO. Let's leave it at that. Next question.
Moving swiftly onward.
Yes, exactly,
Carlton?
yes. Let's drift away from that as quickly as we possibly can. The 73 Corvette. You saw the approach speeds that some of the prototypes here can achieve, and he didn't like being bullied at all. He was busy testing out his lights. In fact, one of the bulbs has popped because that's how much he was flashing his anger. He wasn't flashing to say I'm coming by, because there's absolutely no chance of that. There is a very grey sky. Earlier today, a large fireball appeared in sky.
Yeah, we were very excited to see
it was
the sun.
It was the sun. We haven't seen it for a few days, and it is raining. It is raining. It's just started to spatter against our commentary position here, and sooner or later you may well see it upon your screen here. It does not necessarily mean it's raining throughout the track. There you are, but it's certainly raining here as we return to the start-finish straight.
And of course, the fun thing about Le Mans, you've got just over an 8-mile circuit where it could be raining in one corner and fairly sunny and dry in another corner, which makes it very exciting as a driver. So, and this is definitely that sort of rain. We've got spatters of rain in various places, but probably not everywhere. So it's going to be slick tires, but how wet it could be in different parts of the circuit could make things interesting.
It could well be the story of the weekend. Variable weather conditions. They won't know which Audi is going to do well. It's going to be changeable, so I guess in terms of practice you're going to try and get as much experience as you possibly can, especially if you're one of the rookies here, of which I understand there are 40.
There are 40 indeed, yes. Just going back to Audi, there's no team orders at Audi. They weren't at Spa either, and Audi, quite honestly, they say that they're not bothered whether the hybrid wins or the regular Ultra, but if I was Audi, I'd spend all that money on the hybrid system. I know which one
to win.
I would want to win.
I agree. And it's the first hybrid win and all those lovely things that would make the press go crazy.
That is the corporate line, and that's the one they'll stick to. And if it wasn't for Audi, of course, we wouldn't have much of a race here this year, would we? Because they really are going to be the pace setters. And that rain, as they say, just coming, people are starting to slip and slide a bit in front of us. But as you said, as Liz said, it can be completely dry down at Mulsanne and the whole way down that straight.
We are seeing quite a few cars come in, actually. Sorry, Carlton. So I question if it's actually raining a bit more than we can see from our commentary spot on other parts of the circuit.
Well, they've just had over the race radio, they have in fact informed everybody that rain is falling in the pit area. I presume that's because that's the only data they've got at the moment. But looking at this, you're never quite sure whether it's insects or indeed rain. But it's
on the windscreens, that is.
Yes, exactly. It's spattering just for the time being, but it is coming down in sort of big globs. It's not a sort of a misty sea mist, that kind of thing. No, it's proper rain, this, and if the cloud does burst properly, I imagine there'll be a brief hiatus while everyone goes for a cup of coffee.
Yeah, and I think there's, at this stage in the practice for Le Mans, is no point in actually taking any risks, really. There's no point in hammering the car around on tires that perhaps aren't quite right for the conditions and having a risk before you've even qualified. So I'm not surprised to see quite a few of these cars coming into the pits right now.
Well, the 77 has just come in. Sorry for the picture breakup, incidentally. It may well be that we have storms in the area.
It's a black cloud above us.
Electrical problems, which is a microwave relay, and as we look out towards the horizon, cumulonimbus are, well, extensive from one side of the horizon to the next, and in this part of the world you can see quite a long way. It's flattish.
Yeah, people are starting to go straight on now, as Liz is just pointing out. That's down at the newly named first chicane, which is now no longer PlayStation chicane. It's Forza Motorsport, Microsoft's Xbox game. They've actually outbid Sony PlayStation this year for the name of that chicane, so you'll be hearing a lot about Forza, and there's no such team here this weekend.
Yeah, and we were just seeing a report that number 66 has just gone straight on at one of the corners, so I think we're starting to see rain coming down a little bit more on various parts of the circuit.
It's at position 42, I understand.
No, that's what I'm talking about. The first chicane, the Forza chicane. You're not listening.
Yeah, I was. But,
oh, there we go. We've all just said the same thing twice.
Yes, exactly. Why not? It's not going to be the first time
day.
or the last.
This is practice for us, everybody, as well.
Yeah.
So, and by heavens, we need it.
Yes, absolutely. Marcel Fassler, just being shown the hand.
Yeah, last year's winner.
Yes, here he is. And your first real close-up, I guess, of this magnificent machine. Always looks like Apollo astronauts' visors with that sort of gold look to the windscreen covering here. And what's this? How's your German?
Don't put your hands near it, because there's a lot of electricity in there. And this is a warning to all the mechanics just to be careful where they put their hands. Look at those cutouts on the top of the wings. That's new for this year. You've got to have holes up on the top there. No longer louvers.
Well, thank goodness for that, because we had so much louver damage, especially with tyre debris that was getting flung off when the marbles used to batter their way through, and you'd have cars called in because their louvers were damaged.
But this is all part of the trying to limit the cars flying. It's same as the dorsal fin, and relieving pressure under the front wheel arches as well. I reckon they'll try and stop the cars from flipping. Remember what happened last year to Alan McNish, even with the dorsal fin.
Beautiful rear moment there, just caught beautifully. How much longer we're going to see the rear engine 911? Apparently not for that much longer. It's going to be a mid-engine machine in not very much time at all.
I've heard possibly next year even.
Well, I heard 14.
Yeah, so well, I think the development is next year, I suppose, but in the actual race.
Of course, the big story here, Liz, is the lizards are back.
They are.
I mean, everyone's so excited about that. 2 cars this year.
And the Flying Lizards are such huge stalwarts of the American Le Mans series. They've been around forever. They've been to Le Mans a lot and seem to have really bad luck here, if I'm honest. They've done amazingly well in the ALMS. Got a lot of the same drivers they've been with for years, and they're just a great, really tough, scrappy team. And I would love to see them actually remove the monkey on their back and actually do well in this race.
Yes,
exactly. Or indeed a lizard, yes.
Yeah.
And of course, they've got 3 factory drivers in their pro car. I mean, it's so strong. Jörg Bergmeister, Marco Holzer and Pat Long. I mean,
what a
how
team.
Strong is that? Just while we're mentioning Jörg, by the way, his brother Tim, who was seriously injured in Japan, Super GT, well on the way to recovery. He's back home now. He's in Germany, but he's unlikely to race again this year. But he had punctured lungs, broken ribs, a lot of damage. And
wouldn't it be great if he won it for him?
Yeah,
it would be amazing. And we wish Tim a really fast recovery, of course.
Exactly.
Well, lights ablaze. They're testing their flashes. We saw one of these headlights go out. You're not allowed to proceed without it, so you will be called in. Yes, his anger at flashing his headlights didn't pay dividends. He lost a bulb, and in he came.
Let's this is the Yota car that won, of course, at Spa, first time out. That was a great win for the Yota team under Sam and everyone, Sam Hignett and co, and excellent. Let's go and hear from Jan Magnussen, Corvette.
We can just see the car behind us. Do you know exactly what they are checking at the moment?
At the moment, it's some shifting that's not happening in the correct way. So we're just checking it before it gets to be a real problem.
You did few laps earlier today. What were your sensations?
Well, so far it's pretty good. We're very happy with how the car was. I was in the car from the beginning, and the track was very dirty and slippery, so it wasn't a fantastic run for me, but the balance was good. And all the time the car's going faster and faster, so we just keep building on it right now. We're quite happy.
How exciting is it to be there for the first qualifying session later tonight?
It's fantastic. Right now we're just getting ready for that. Now it's just practice, so it doesn't really matter. But tonight, if the weather is good and we can go and have a proper qualifying, it's always fantastic here. That's what I love the most about Le Mans, is the qualifying.
This is a man who's won 4 times here in GT and Magnussen, and all of those with Corvette, GTS as it was, and then GT1, 2005, 2006 and 2009. Showing that car of Antonio Garcia, who's incredibly quick. And the other one, Jordan Taylor, another of the Wayne Taylor family. Ricky Taylor, of course, leading the Grand Am Championship at the moment, driving the Corvette Grand Am car. And here's Jordan Taylor, the brother, racing at Le Mans as a rookie, Liz.
Yeah, and it's great to see Corvette here in such a strong position again. They were, of course, amazing in GT1 for so many years, multiple winners at Le Mans, multiple American Le Mans Series winners, and always have to be in the characteristic yellow. But yes, brilliant to see them here this year, and I think they've got a really good shot at a podium, if not a win.
There are a wider track, incidentally, for the Pro cars, which are allowed to be the latest year's development. The AMs are not. You have to use a year-old vehicle, unless you happen to be an Aston Martin, in which case some of the reliability issues that were ironed out this year have been allowed to be retrospectively applied to the AM category.
Yeah.
However, it is a wider track to the Corvettes at the rear end. Does that affect the length of their fuel probe, which is probably one of the biggest in the world, or are they not refueling that way anymore?
No, they don't do that. They don't use
for that.
Don't use the aluminium cans anymore with the screw tops and shell marked on the side. That's long gone, Carlton.
Oh, right.
Even before you arrived.
And we're just seeing there the Audi, number 4 Audi, passing one of the Corvettes, and you can see those incredible new lights they've got. And speaking from someone who's been slower than the Audis before, it is actually a really good thing that they've got different lights to the other LMP cars, because in LMP 1 and 2 you have the wider lighting, and in the GT classes it's yellow, so at least you know what's coming up behind you. But to know whether it's an LMP2, if you're a GT car that's perhaps not going that fast, or an absolutely rocket fast Audi, is going to be really useful. And I think it's a safety issue. I think this is a good decision.
Last year, it's exactly that, isn't it?
Remind us what happened last year to Mike Rockenfeller, Liz.
What a dreadful crash it was.
What was all that about?
Well, yeah, we were discussing this earlier, and the crash they had is on a portion of the circuit that is flat for the LMP cars, and I'm guessing perhaps the odd GT may need to lift. In the case of Kaufman, who he was passing, maybe a less experienced driver, he probably was lifting. And what happens here is that you just can't quite judge how fast the cars are coming up on you, especially at night. And I'm guessing he probably looked in his mirror and said, okay, there's a prototype coming, and perhaps the car was just upon him much quicker than he thought. And it looked from the very vague video we saw that he just turned in and clipped Rocky, and it's a difficult situation to look at should he have been thrown out, but it was a horrible accident, and we're very glad to see Mike here and happy and healthy.
Absolutely. The DeltaWing's gone back in. Oh, I hear you all say.
Yeah, it went straight on at the second chicane a few minutes ago.
Exactly, so a few checks. We've had our own little questions as the Aston Martin Vantage makes its V8 rumble felt. That perhaps grip levels up front, we're asking the question, but we're assured that there's absolutely no problem. Darren Turner apparently is just coming in the 97. There he is.
Yeah, good to see Aston Martin back at doing what they do best, which is GT racing, isn't it?
Yeah. It's what the car's made for goodness sake.
I mean, those beautiful GT1 cars, the DBR9s, which they ran back 2007, 2008. And Stuart Hall, in fact, took me around Silverstone a few weeks ago in one of the 2008 cars, and what an experience around the Grand Prix circuit. I just didn't want to get out, but I can see why the drivers love them so much. These cars go where you point them.
They do. I mean, I was actually lucky enough to race the DBR9 back in 2007, and what a monster car. I mean, that V12 engine was just amazing. And but it was kind of sad after so much success they'd built up over a couple of years in the GT1 program to have it kind of fall apart for them last year. And now I think we have a really strong package. The car has been running at the front of the grid in all its races before.
Got a problem.
Karen Chandrook on board the JRM Honda, going very slowly. This is, I think Liz will tell us about this. This is get you home, isn't it? This is a get you home button they're on, isn't it?
I suppose it's hard to know at this stage how slow they are. We've just kind of come upon them. It could be they've got a slow puncture. It could be there's a problem with the engine. It could be that the car has gone into emergency mode. Quite a few of these engine systems have got that, where if there's an overheating problem or something, the actual engine goes into limp at home mode, like you've said, which keeps it below a certain amount of rev. So until we know a little bit more, it's hard to say exactly what's happened there, but hopefully not a big problem.
Let's just get you up to speed, shall we, on positions as we stand. Audi's 1, 2, 3 and 4 at the moment. 1, 2, 3 and 5, I beg your pardon. Nakajima and the Toyota is just mixing it with them at the moment. Mark, we suspected that the Toyotas might come out and just try and put in some very, very quick laps. It may well be that their event is about the sprint, maybe not for the entire 24 hours, but, you know, those questions will have to be left hanging until the weekend.
They didn't intend to race here until next year, so the whole program's been brought forward. The ACO really went to them cap in hand and said, you know, can you bring it forward? Come and race. Doesn't matter if you don't finish the first year. No one will think less of you. Toyota have risen to the challenge, even to the extent they've taken on the whole Oreca team, including Hugh de Schonack, who of course won Le Mans for Mazda back in 1991, and Hugh is overseeing this operation, telling basically the Japanese and the German engineers what they should and shouldn't be doing here. And it's gonna work for sure. The car's been mightily impressive. It looks great. We are hearing rumours they got cooling problems. That may be something to do with the capacitor batteries they're carrying, but I think they'll do really well. And Liz, once we get to the cool of the night, perhaps we might see a pole, as you suggested earlier.
Yeah, you know, I really think they'll be going for pole, because I mean, like you said, this was a real ready, set, go operation. They're not ready to race at this level quite yet, well, this amount of time quite yet. And I say hats off to them for pulling it together and bringing them both in. But I truly believe that they'll just be practicing now, and let's go to an interview.
Alex, the big moment has arrived. You did your first lap for this weekend. What were your sensations?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
What were your sensations tonight for the first lap?
Well, the coffee was pretty good. We're basically focusing on race pace for this particular session, so I'm pretty happy with how the car handled, and we're pretty much ready for all eventualities, and yeah, everything's looking good.
This is your first Le Mans. How exciting are you with this big race?
Obviously, it's a big chance for me to come and be involved in such a great motor race, and I'm looking forward to the challenge. I think we stand a good chance, and I'm very excited.
And to share the car with your father, is it something very special?
Yeah, it's obviously a special thing for me. He's out pounding around in the car at the moment, so we're happy to be here and happy to have each other's company.
How much do you share in between, is there some competition in you two?
Yeah, we share a fair amount. Obviously, we share all the data, etc. But in terms of information, obviously, we're a team, so everything is shared. A little bit of competition between us, as you normally have between teammates, but I think that's a healthy thing, and hopefully we can drive each other forward rather than backwards.
Thanks a lot.
Well, there we are, Mark. We had a brief word with the what could possibly be called the Brundle bundle. You have, of course, Martin and Alex. That was Alex, the young man, just 21 years of age. He is a man who he talks like a veteran, to be honest. I don't know whether how much coaching he's had from Dad, but he is a very mature sounding young man. And they've got Lucas Ordinus as well, who was part of that amazing GT Academy, where you may well have been a gamer, but he's a man who proves that in only 2 years you can turn yourself into a racing driver. It's amazing.
And got on the podium in LMP2 last year. How good was that? But Martin, very proud dad, and I think Alex probably equally proud son. Martin, let's just remind you, won here in 1990. Now, of course, anchor for the Sky coverage of Formula One. And Martin, taking a weekend off from all that to come racing here at Le Mans. We're going to take a break as well. We'll be back after these messages.
Welcome back. The 51 car has got itself into trouble.
Fisichella
is on board, and we're hearing not good.
Yeah, let's
just wait and see what we see, shall we?
Let's just give a quick plug for dailysportscar.com, who are great help to us, and we hopefully to them too. And they have made the point: contact and Porsche curves in one sentence, Liz, is not good.
Yeah, that's not a good sign before we've even gotten to qualifying. And Fisichella, a very, very accomplished driver indeed, and that car was actually running second in the Pro class, so this is not going to be a good thing for them at all. And let's just hope for their sake it's repairable in time to qualify.
Do you know, there's so much talk about budgets and getting schemes of work together, and indeed development programs, etc. And it is such a difficult thing, especially if early on in an event such as this you get some serious damage. So let's just hope that all is well. No pictures just for the time being. Just to remind you, the circuit is not fully covered at this point. So you're just going to have to bear with seeing what you're seeing. It is a vast arena if you took it as one. Public roads as well. and we won't have all the camera positions filled until race day itself. So unfortunately, it's a part of the circuit, just for the time being, that we do not have. I'm waiting to see if we get some onboard footage of the incident, which does relay back. But as far as exterior pictures are concerned, there are parts still, Mark, until later on in the event that are blind.
Yeah, this may well be tomorrow night. They'll have a lot of coverage down Indianapolis end, but certainly by Saturday morning, when we'll be bringing the whole of the warm-up live from 9 o'clock UK time, 8 o'clock UK time rather, 9 o'clock Central European, you'll see the whole circuit then. So good illustration of that dorsal fin on the Audi there, Liz. Just talk us through that, how it stops the cars from flipping.
Well, that's what we hoped for last year. It's taken in from the F1 technology, and I believe every LMP1 car this year has one. That's a requirement that I didn't know about until recently. But it seems to help a bit, but especially with this new change they've done to the arches, the wheel arches as well, they've opened them up a little bit more, which is meant to help with the aero they're looking for with the dorsal fin. And I hope, thinking back to Alan McNish's crash last year, that will make a difference.
Riding a Marcel Fassler, let Liz just talk us about these braking zones. He's going down towards the first of the chicanes, which is 2 on your chart there. That's the second braking zone. Tell us what happens under braking, Liz.
Very, very heavy braking here. The car will be absolutely maxed out in 6th gear, down to probably, I would say, about 3rd gear into here. And we can just about hear that e-tron coming in. As we said, what was that description you made of the silverware? I think it sounds like it's screaming a little bit.
Yes, it does.
And then here again, you're back onto the Mulsanne straight. And of course, this year the Mulsanne has been repaved, so it's even faster than it used to be. This is normal road into another very heavy braking zone for the second chicane.
With the Audi, it doesn't come in till 120 k's, does it?
No. And so their braking zone is going to feel very different to what they were used to last year, sort of with the 4-wheel drive effect, and I can't even imagine.
You can hear it squealing as it gets engaged here. All power that you can actually use a little later on.
And I'm looking forward to pinning down one of our e-tron drivers in our break and just see what it's actually like out there. I haven't really had a chance to talk to them.
This is the famous Mulsanne kink, of course. How does that feel?
Oh, it's wonderful. It's one of my favourite corners, actually. It's fantastic to drive flat out through that right-hand bit. And then really, really heavy braking in what is a very polished area. This is one of the hardest bits of the track if it's wet. And you'll see a lot of cars just carry on off that braking point there.
Now look at the extra power he's got now. 200 horsepower extra in the front wheels. Wham!
Amazing. Which I can see it makes such a difference in changeable conditions, which you've said, Carlton, are perhaps on their way.
Yes, exactly. And we think that the standard diesels, if that, you could ever describe one of these P1 cars as standard, may well actually suffer just a little bit when it comes, only 2-wheel drive, don't forget, when it comes to wet conditions, and it's mixed at the moment.
Yeah. What about Indianapolis? This is where he gets extra power now.
Yeah, you can really actually see how much grip he's got coming through there on the front end. That's the amazing thing. He was able to almost...
no kick down, is it?
Yeah, and especially through Arnage, such a polished, difficult corner. Looks like he's really able to put the power on earlier than he could before, which makes sense if he's got a 4-wheel action.
Yeah, it's absolutely flat, not only flat out, but just the stability of the car is amazing as it gets
just
that
plants
speed.
itself.
Yeah, totally.
And then into the Porsche curves. Here we go.
Porsche curves is all about stability. Such a fast portion of the track. These LMP1 cars are virtually flat. They probably are flat through certainly these 2 left-hand corners we're watching here, and then a bit of braking for this. And the right-hand corner here is the one that I was always told you never want an accident off the edge of that corner. So I believe is where Guillaume had his accident in practice.
Yeah, and Fisichella, as we just heard a few minutes ago. Talk us through the final part.
This part of the circuit is one that gets filled with gravel in the race because everybody's always putting a wheel off. Very, very tight. They're always saying in 24-hour racing, oh, you shouldn't be jumping the curbs, but this is one portion of a track in a 24-hour, you ride straight over the top of them. Yeah. Despite the bumps, it's become a bit of a 24-hour sprint these days, hasn't it, really?
Absolutely. Whether it will be this year, I do not know, because reliability may well just play its part. I'm hoping that it is as close as it has been over the last couple of years, looking at Nakajima-san, just replenishing his own fluids, as you will. Taking a stroll back and letting them know whether he fancies it or not, presumably. This is our lead car at the moment. Marcel Fassler is on board. Tom Christensen is out at the moment, just out of the car. They're in the pits with the 2 car, but second quickest so far. Chenet's on track, and Ollie Jarvis making up the 1, 2, 3 and 4 Audis at the moment, filling the top 4 timing slots with Toyota, Valapierre and Davidson in 5 and 6. So there we are. The Dome has been impressive, especially in the hands of Bourdais, and he's out there on track at the moment in the 17 car. Currently 8th quickest, but it's almost like a private battle, I think. There it is, the 17 machine, running 8th right now with Seb on board.
And in that car, of course, we've got 2 ex-Peugeot drivers, one in Nick Manassian and also in Sebastian Bourdais. Nice to see them back out in a prototype. I know I saw Nick earlier and he just said, I'm just so glad to be here racing, you know, which is really nice. Big smile on his face. And Nick is just forever a positive racing driver and a great guy to have out there. So.
Well, the ex-Peugeot Drivers Club is spread far and wide, isn't it? Pescarolo, Bourdais and Manassian, of course, joined by Ara, who won with Audi way back in 2004.
Wow. Seems like so long ago now.
Well, that underlines what we were saying earlier on about the programme and the length of the programme. I mean, they also came, don't forget, initially with cowled cars as well as open vehicles, decided which to run with, went with open eventually, had an amazing amount of success. And you compare that with the programme that Toyota is starting to take on here, and they've basically just arrived with, I guess, a naked book in terms of development.
Yeah, I mean, the Peugeot withdrawal was such a shock to everyone. As you know, as most of you all know, they're actually at Sebring, getting ready for the Sebring 12 hours when Paris pulled the plug basically on the whole Peugeot programme. Put all these drivers, including our own Anthony Davidson, out of work at a shot, and a lot of them thought they weren't going to be able to race again this year. As it's happened, things have panned out. They have all found seats now, which has been very good indeed. But that was a huge blow to French pride, of course, Peugeot pulling out. They cited the world recession, financial reasons, lack of car sales. It obviously affected the government of Nicolas Sarkozy as well. They brought them down, and with them, of course, came down the Prime Minister, who is Le Mans' own MP, François Fillon. And strangely enough, his brother, just 2 weeks ago, Pierre Fillon, was appointed the president of the ACO. So we understand François Fillon is not going to stand as an MP for La Sarthe again, but will be finding a safe seat in Paris. But meanwhile, the Fillons still rule here at Le Mans 24 hours.
And
Lapierre still going around. We just saw a moment ago, Liz, the Signatech car, the black one, Jordan Tresson.
Yeah, Jordan Tresson is the next generation of GT Academy winners. He won the year after Ordóñez did. And of course, Lucas Ordóñez drove that car last year into second place in the LMP2. Was extremely impressive. I understand Jordan's won in a GT car already. And it'll be really interesting to see if these guys just keep on pulling it out. It's amazing. This is his first shot at Le Mans, I believe, his first go in a prototype. Well, this year anyway. And just an incredible program. It's amazing.
Number one car coming in, absolutely. It makes you wonder just how far that program could go. Is it another rich seam? We're going to find out of driving talent, bringing gamers to the fore. It's worked once. Will it work again, or again and again? We'll find out. Fassler is just having a brief check, pat on the head. That green box is to tell the mechanics and service crew not to touch that zone. It's a highly charged vehicle.
If you're just joining us on Eurosport, we're now 3 hours into the 4-hour practice session and 1 more hour to go. Then there'll be a break for a couple of hours, and then qualifying 1 will be starting at 10 o'clock local time, 9 o'clock in the UK. So get your beer in your hand and get ready for that. That's going to be mighty, Liz, from the word go, isn't it? Because
it is.
Could be raining tomorrow.
And so far, a very tidy practice, I have to say. We've not really had many offs. The one we're still waiting to find out about is the crash from Fisichella, which sounds like it may have been rather large, but we have seen no footage of it whatsoever, nor have we seen the car returning into the pit lane.
We have got a message showing on the timing screens that there's gravel on the track on the left-hand side of the entry to the Porsche curbs, but that actually was coming up at the time we were riding a Fassler. We didn't seem to slow him down at all, but presumably they'll take chance just to try and clear that. Weather's improved again, rain's gone, and we've got quite a nice sunny evening, high cloud.
We have, absolutely lovely. The 31 car, Morrow, thought about coming in, thought about it again, and just sped straight past. The sun is out, we've got a little bit of shadow to entertain the eye. A lot of vehicles here just going through their preliminary checks, don't forget. 43 car just coming by as well. That's always a delight. Nice to see as well that Peter Dumbreck is back at Le Mans.
Yeah, 1999, of course, etched in everyone's memories. Flying Mercedes, both he and Mark Webber had huge accidents for Mercedes that weekend. That's the one year I wasn't at Le Mans. I was at the Canadian Grand Prix that year with our German colleague, Norbert, and
I do believe Mercedes hasn't been back.
They haven't been back since then. No.
Yes, it makes you wonder when and how or if.
Yeah,
Yes.
but they are back in Formula One, of course. Oh,
Yes.
big twitchy moment there for the Toyota coming through the Ford chicane. That was exciting. Didn't see it on television, but it's right in front of us. We have moved commentary boxes this year, haven't we? We're not looking down on the pits this year. We're actually looking over the final 2 chicanes. So, nice little bit
Sort
of
a direct shot at the Ford chicane, don't
Yes,
we?
exactly. Let's hope nobody gets it wrong, shall we? Otherwise, we will be curtailed rather quickly. We're just, if you're trying to imagine where we are, just near the Ferris wheel and also near some of the campsite barbecues. So if we start coughing during the evening, you'll know exactly why. Somebody's overdone a sausage.
Well, if they don't invite us, we'll be very upset.
Oh, exactly. I'll try and pick some up on our way in.
You can actually smell the food, can't you, as a driver?
Oh yeah, no, you can. Not as much here as some. I actually remember specifically Laguna Seca. Can always smell the barbecue there. But the things you do notice is things like the Ferris wheel and the different. We've got another weird looking freaky ride right in front of us with lots of lights on it. But you do notice that stuff as a driver, and it sort of brings Le Mans home to you at night. You think, wow, I'm at Le Mans at night. It's so cool.
The word Judd, it rings large here, as well as Nissan.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
quite a bit of Nissan power this year.
Oh, yeah. 13 Nissan engines plus that's in LMP2, plus the DeltaWing. So 14 cars in all. And Darren Cox and his crew have got a huge job on their hands this weekend. He's the commercial manager for Nissan Europe. And huge presence here by Nissan, almost matching Audi.
Just one thing, Honda have said that they're looking for corporate partners, and that means there's a bit of a battle going on. We said it was maybe had a little bit of extra needle between the 21 and the 22 car. They could well be the chosen allies of Honda next year. We'll discuss that, shall we, after this.
Here we are then riding a Chevrolet, one of the 74, one of the factory cars, and on board that car, Liz, at the moment is Ollie Gavin.
Ollie Gavin, one of the fastest men around in a Corvette.
Well, they're running a clock on him.
Yeah, and there's the team watching it. Let's see how he's going to stop that. Is it going to be a 1:35 or 36? No, it's not there yet. It's going to be much more than that, isn't it? It's quite a long way off still.
Oh yeah, but I mean that would be if you managed a 30-something, you should.
That's testing you both.
Rocket boosted.
Yeah, I'm testing you both.
That would be pretty amazing. It'd be actually flying and skipping half the circuit for it to be able to do that.
Should be under 4 minutes, of course. That's,
they're currently running in 3rd in the Pro group, and
there we go.
Oh, he's done it. He's 2nd now.
Good boy. 357.518.
You can tell your grandchildren you were there. You saw it here on Eurosport.
And this is how close these front-running Pro cars are in the GTE category. We've got Jamie Mello on a 357.4, Ollie Gavin 357.5, and Fisichella, who we understand has had that crash, was on a 357.7.
Yeah, he's not been recovered, has he? The car is still showing S. We're also a bit concerned, as Carlton pointed out, Anthony Davidson's Toyota is being shown as stopped somewhere, but we don't know where at the moment.
Well, we have had transponder issues, and it may well be that there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, so we'll just wait for confirmation on that.
Because it is saying his last lap was his fastest.
Exactly.
So
maybe it's S for super.
Super.
Yes.
Super duper.
And look at this for a view. You're going to get an awful lot of this weekend, and if you are lucky people, you will have spent some pennies on HD, which we're not blessed with in the commentary position, but I can just only imagine what these pictures are looking like back home.
And if any of you are coming down to Le Mans to watch, make sure you give us a wave from the Ferris wheel.
Oh yes, or indeed the sick maker, which is
the boomerang,
a big swinging thing.
And let's just make it. Actually, this is a public service announcement we're just going to make. If you've got tickets for Le Mans, you've got car passes, do not. You've probably been warned already. Do not put those car passes in the window, because the printer, massive cock up, printed them all on thermal paper, and as soon as they sense any light or sunshine, they turn black. So be warned, do not stick your car stickers in the windows. Just keep them somewhere dark in the car and show them on demand.
Alternatively, just buy yourself a piece of black card and say, there you go, car park pass. You never know.
You heard it here on Eurosport first. Thank you.
It's like, want a free umbrella?
Right.
Go to the underground lost property and say, yeah, it's black with a bamboo handle, and you will receive one. Yeah, that's the one. Here we go then. There'll be more top tips throughout the weekend, I'm sure, during some quiet moments, and it has gone a little bit quiet.
Yeah,
here.
people just taking stock, aren't they? There's a number of cars coming in. In comes the, is that the number 1 car coming in? No, number 2 car coming in now. That is Tom Christensen. We can see him, you can't yet on your side. Here's Krone Racing, another of Liz's compatriots.
Yeah, Krone Racing is probably the greenest team we'll see in the pit lane, and I don't mean in environmental terms.
Oh, that was a good joke until that point.
Tracy Krone has been around for a long time now in the American Le Mans Series and here at Le Mans. And I think they've got a pretty good shot now, especially with the amateur category coming in. It actually gives people like that, if they can all keep it on the track, it gives them a pretty good shot.
Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I'm trying to say if they all keep it on the track.
Yeah.
They
of course
occasionally travel through the scenery, but we're hoping they will stay on the black stuff.
This is, incidentally, a new car. Despite its status, where it's supposed to be last year's car, it's a new car, but built to the old spec. So I don't know whether that's a bit of shenanigans or not, but it's within the rules, and everything's all right.
Team manager is Jeff Hazel, who is the master of bending the rules. And Jeff, of course,
it sounds a bit suspect to me.
Jeff, a multiple Group C winner with the Spice team. He ran Spice World Championships. He then ran Snippet, the McLaren that won in 1995. The Uno Clinic car, which had that famous victory, the McLaren F1 GTE. So Jeff really knows his stuff, and anything that Krone does, you can be sure Jeff has applied his magic touch to. So we'll keep an eye on that.
Here we go. There we are. It is the 33 car. Has brought out a yellow. Don't know whether it's full circuit or local for the time being. But it is the level 5 motorsport machine. It's the Honda.
And it's gone straight on at Mulsanne Corner, which in the old days, of course, had huge sandbanks there, and drivers used to have to dig the cars out. I got a photograph of Roy Salvadori trying to dig an Aston Martin out there. Roy, of course, who died just a few weeks ago, just 2 weeks after Carroll Shelby, and they together won Le Mans in 1959 for Aston Martin. So
that DeltaWing is going to be coming straight back in because one of its brake lights is out. Sorry about that. And if you're listening to us back at base, yes, we spotted it first. 4 headlights, of which 3 are working by the looks of things. They've got light issues.
And the Le Mans rule is, of course, that you have to have all lights working in order to be out on track. Now, does that apply if you've got 4?
It's the same pod. It's a failure there. So yes, they'll be going all the way around and coming all the way straight.
And these are one of the most annoying things that can happen to you at this 24-hour race. If you have a funny little electrical glitch that doesn't let one of your lights work, it can hold up your entire race. And the rest of the car can be absolutely fine, but rules are rules.
It'll be Dave Brady and his soldering iron. Yes, he knows who he is. Yes.
This car, of course, was the bid for the new Indy car last year when they were looking for
that would have been
bidders,
something, wouldn't it? Imagine a track full of these.
Amazing.
Going around the Indy 500. Wow.
And the other amazing thing about this car is, if you notice, it has no real aero that we can see out on the out on the actual car. It doesn't have a huge wing like all the other prototypes we see. It doesn't have a big splitter across the front. It's because the whole aerodynamics of the car are based underneath the vehicle, and this is something that they're saying can ultimately help with aerodynamics in road cars in the future, because unless you're Jimmy Boy Racer, you don't have a huge big wing on your road car and various things like that. So some of this technology, I think, is transferable or been learned as well from some road car technology.
I believe we're going to be talking to Anthony Davidson. Here he is.
Anthony, just a little update if you have some news about the car.
No, I've just been sitting here the whole time, just watching the session. I've been looking over every now and again to see the car in the garage, but yeah, it doesn't look like we're going to make it out for this session. I don't think we're going to concentrate on making it perfect for the next one.
Are you focused on the car just to know how it's working?
Yeah, we've been following the progress of the other car, just watching the setup changes they're making, and keep an eye on the tyres as well, the life of the tyres. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. There's always something you can learn. But at the moment, they're just going through the program, and I think we'll be taking all their hard work when we go back out there. So that's all part of it, really.
Why have they been credited with such a quick lap if we've got an issue here? Yes. Questions?
They've been on the pace all the time at the test day as well. Yes, of course, as you said, as we said earlier, had he stopped on the track? No, because we were told earlier they've got transmission problems.
Shame.
And that's it. So Corvette being pushed in there. Here's the 71. That's the Pro car, Olivier Beretta, on board Ferrari, and that's unusual to see Olivier on a Ferrari, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. After so many years of being a Corvette driver, it's
and before that,
that
Viper, he's always had American muscle.
It must feel interesting for him to be aboard the Italian machine now. But certainly there are worse cars in the world you could be in than a lovely new Ferrari.
Absolutely. Running 6th in class at the moment, incidentally, as part of the GTE Pro Grand Tourer Endurance Pro.
So the man from Monaco just coming in for a quick check in the ring. They've got the car up on the jacks. Just checking tyre pressures. Still remind you, we're in practice. We're none of the times being recorded in this 4-hour session will count towards anything to do with the race. Qualifying proper will be starting in just under 3 hours' time.
Yes, there's just this hiatus that we heard Anthony Davidson sounding very, very frustrated. As a driver, you want to get out there, you want to get battling, and I guess it's well, just that frisson between even teammates, like, why not me out there? It must be desperate at this point. You want to get going when you get to Le Mans, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, everybody just want to get in the car and get driving. It's such an amazing experience to be here. Sort of the whole ambiance and just being at Le Mans is wonderful, and you just want everything to work right. I think that's what it is, and it is a stressful time being this close to the race when you have a few little problems. We always try and say to ourselves as drivers, we'd rather have the problem now and not in the race, but it does make you nervous. You just want to come out and have everything work perfectly, which, as we know, in motorsport, especially in 24-hour racing, is quite often not the case.
74 on its marks, just bedding in behind the 21 machine here of Straker Racing and Nicola Bentis.
Ollie gets out, the man from Yardley Hastings. And but it is a hiatus at the moment. We've got more cars in the pits than out.
Yeah, we have. This yellow looks less banana and more highlight pen this year. I don't know whether they've actually changed it, or maybe it's just our lenses for the time being. There you go, banana from the inside.
Looks banana from the inside, definitely.
And joining us here, we have a Mr. Chris Parsons. Who will be joining us indeed a little bit more during the night. He'll be part of the Up All Night Club with Neville Hay as well.
He's got an early morning start on Saturday as well, of course, the Group C race. But Chris, you just heard us talking about Roy Salvadori and Carroll Shelby, 2 great losses. We're going for a commercial break, but as soon as we've had that, we're going to come back to you and talk about 1959, because you were at that race, weren't you?
Well, no, I wasn't actually, but I know a fair amount about that one. So we'll talk after the commercial break.
Absolutely. If you are only just joining us, it is practice. We'll have qualifying in a couple of hours' time. Back in a moment.
Welcome back to Eurosport, our live coverage of practice for the 80th edition of the world's most famous race, the Le Mans 24 Hours. I'm Mark Cole. With me, Chris Parsons. Chris, you're going to be commentating the Group C race for us and joining us during the night for the big race. But let's just look back to 1959. We mentioned earlier about Carroll Shelby and Roy Salvadori both having died within 2 weeks of each other. The 1959 winners of the race in what I think you always say is the most iconic Le Mans car of all time.
It was a beautiful car, the Aston Martin DBR 1300. It really was. It looked the part completely. And of course, in those days, you had not only Aston Martin, but the Jaguar D-Type was on its way out. But of course, Ferrari. And it was mainly Aston Martin against Ferrari. And Aston Martin had a 3-car, 2 drivers per car in those days. And they sent Sterling Moss out to try and break the Ferraris.
We just came for a quick interview. Be back in a minute.
Polish, everything is going as you want?
Oh yeah, until now everything is running smoothly. We are running to the program that we have planned for this session, and it's working fine until now.
Do you think the quali is going to play tonight or tomorrow?
Oh, this is difficult to be said, but I think if the weather should be fine tomorrow, I think tomorrow the best times will come.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So a bit of damage there on Fisichella's car. That's the car that went off at the Porsche curves. It's been shunted at the rear end, and Fizzy not looking at all happy about that. They've got a lot of work before they get into qualifying.
Absolutely. This is exactly what Liz was alluding to. You don't want problems, and you certainly don't want major problems at a moment like this. A real shame, and well, we just hope that it's none too serious. It didn't look that bad, frankly.
No, but we'll see. Chris, just going back to Aston Martin, of course, the other person who died, who's connected with that, was Ted Cutting, who designed the car. He died in March. So how bizarre that the three principals in that victory should have died within 2 months of each other.
Yes, it's a real coincidence, and of course Sir Sterling still goes on and on. And we saw him here. Well, he announced his retirement here this time last year. Yeah. He qualified his car and then got out and said, "Sorry, that's it."
Yeah, that was a big moment for everyone here.
Yes,
shocked everyone, I think. Chris, Group C, Saturday morning. Just quickly tell us what's happening there. Massive entry.
Yeah, 31 cars. I've just been up to the paddock. Two cars unfortunately haven't turned up with engine problems, but never mind. 10:05 Saturday morning, 33 cars.
That's UK time.
No,
that's here, right? So
9:05.
9:05 UK time. Good. Let's be clear about that.
Right. It's a 45-minute or 10-lap race, whichever is the quickest.
No refueling.
No refueling. No official pit stops.
Right.
So it's basically a one-driver race. Two cars are planning to do two drivers, so they're going to be at a disadvantage.
Jaguar, Mercedes, Nissan. Anyone else of note?
Oh yes, lots of different cars. Unfortunately, the Aston Martin hasn't come, but there are lots of spices. But the favourites are the Mercedes, which are fabulous. The Porsches, we've got Derek Bell, one of the best drivers from the period, who won the World Championship, won Le Mans 5 times.
5 times, yeah.
He's driving one of the cars, which is an ex-Kramer car.
Excellent.
And you've got two cars, both the Nissans, the 19 Nissans, both claiming to be the car which Blundell set the qualifying lap.
We had this argument 2 years ago, didn't we? Yeah. Great, Chris. So we'll hear more from you and Neville Hay during the Group C race. Meanwhile, Group C's finished. So it seems, to a certain extent, is Lola as it existed, and we've got with us as a guest, and Carlton's just going to talk to him. Sam Smith.
Yes, Sam, a very warm welcome to you. It's one of those stories that, frankly, it's fascinating, but equally disturbing in equal measure. Would you like to fill us in? Lola, great presence, amazing force within motorsport for such a long time, still magnificently active, but in serious trouble at the moment.
Well, it's been a tumultuous 5 or 6 weeks, Carlton, in Huntingdon. Lola's history has been troughs and peaks, lots of great peaks and lots of troughs, unfortunately. And we find ourselves in one, the company finds itself in one at this stage. And we're very hopeful that the Lola name can rise again from this and can be rebuilt. But at present, Lola Cars and Lola Composites is in administration. That's a process that's ongoing. Lola Group Holdings is a parent company which has the IP and the trademarks and so forth. So it is set up to carry on a great capability, and is a really good opportunity for somebody to run, whether it be a sports car, that you've seen the facilities at Huntingdon, or an F1 operation. We have the wind tunnel and so forth. So there's a lot that on the face of it is tough times, but the opportunities are there and the capability exists.
So it's still a functioning operation. Parts-wise, it's still got a big supply to help all your current customers, I suspect.
Well, we were quite fortunate in the fact that a lot of the new teams purchased sizable spares packages at the start of the year when they bought the car. So Gulf, Status, and the Lotus LMP2 team. Rebellion, of course, had complete update kits for Spa, and they have sufficient spares. Obviously, going on throughout the season, that's going to have to be addressed. But of course, we're not sure what form Lola Cars will be in a few months' time. Everything will be organised in terms of the interested parties and whether they're going to purchase cars and/or composites. And then there's obviously Lola Group Holdings, who have the IP and the trademarks, as I said.
Yeah, Sam, for you, I mean, it's a big blow for you as well, of course, because your tenure at Lola, which has been what, 7 or 8 years, that's come to an end.
Yeah, it's going back to, I think we had an incident there at the chicane. I think the Flying Lizard just went off the road for a bit of a gravel moment. But yeah, I mean, it's been a roller coaster, as many things are in motorsport. It's been a fascinating few years for me personally, but you know, there's so many more people affected by what's been happening. Very talented people, designers, aerodynamicists, through to the production staff and everyone which it's affected at Huntingdon. So hopefully, as I said, there can be a significant phoenix from the flames from this, but you know, it's not all doom and gloom. There is a lot of interest in terms of the opportunities that are there commercially for people, particularly the wind tunnel, which is owned by a separate company as well, Wind Tunnel Development. So you know, that can be leased. The actual building can be leased. That's owned by Peer Group, another one of Martin Bourdais' businesses as well. So there is a lot there that is available and ready to be for the ball to be picked up and run with. Yeah, let's just remind people, Martin Bourdais, of course, rescued Lola when Eric Broadley and the ill-fated Formula One program brought the company into difficulties, and so he has really been the saviour, hasn't he, of Lola? Indeed he was, yeah, 1997, and he really reinvigorated the company and brought in a lot of really good capabilities and facilities, and really added 15 years of further history to that great company, to Lola Cars and the Lola name. So you know, it shouldn't be underestimated what Martin did personally. Obviously, he's extremely distressed about what's happened in the last few months, and you know, nobody will be feeling it as much as Martin. But at the moment, we've got 6 cars here. We've been one of the main featured manufacturers or constructors that have been in Le Mans for the last 10 years for sure. I think there's 73 cars that Martin has overseen in terms of design and build since 1999 when the B9810 raced here. So you know, hopefully this time next year we'll be saying there'll be more Lolas, more LMP1 and LMP2 Lolas here as well as the 6 that are here today. Yep. So what are you going to do, Sam? What's your plans at the moment? Well, I'm doing a few bits and pieces here freelance this weekend, but it's given me a good opportunity as well to I went out for an hour onto the track. We see the Krone car that stopped there at the first corner, the Krone Ferrari. But yeah, I'm looking at a few things personally, but obviously the main focus really is the Lola name and how it can continue its great and illustrious history. Good. Well, Sam, thank you for joining us. Do come and see us again over the week. We've got plenty of airtime. Come and give us some of your insights on what you've seen going on in the pit lane and out on the track, and we'd be glad to hear from you. Be an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. Bye. Thanks, Sam. And yes, apologies for the bumps and bruises in the background, incidentally. We've finally got our timing screens back up. It has been a little bit bumpy
This
today.
is practice night, Carlton, as we keep reminding everyone.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So, still no change to the overall positions. No one's gone faster in this session. They don't intend to. They don't mean to. I just said that. Tom Christensen just popped in a 126. Did a 32.4 in the first sector. So there we are. Even as we said it, first driver to dip into the 26s tonight, Liz.
Yeah, and he's just done a fastest sector time there as well. So the track is obviously very dry now. No slippery areas, so to speak. And he's just checking it out before the qualifying.
Yeah, just getting ready. Still good conditions, Carlton. High cloud.
It looks very neat. I'm looking at the colour board here, and all the P1s are quicker than all the P2s. That's precisely what the organisers were hoping for. And thanks to Chris Parsons, who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks. There he goes, and puts our timing screens back together again without using a mallet, which was my preferred option in that one. So Tom Christensen gone quickest here, 3:26.876. Alan McNish, who had the biggest pair of ear protectors I've ever seen, almost looked like he was a member of the Mickey Mouse Club earlier on. He needs to get something more sartorially agreeable.
I thought he was wearing a sporran on his head.
Alan, I didn't say that. We're going to take ourselves a commercial break, and we will be back with you. Just look at this. This is scary speed, I think. Each one quattro at its best. Back in a moment. Welcome back. This is a Ferrari that looks pretty nice. We've just seen one that looks pretty nasty, and I've got to tell you that Fisichella does not look like a happy bunny at all. It's his fault.
Oh, it's not a good place to go off either. Yeah, it was. Yeah, he did not look happy, and the team didn't either. And I would be very surprised if they can get that car fixed in 2 hours. That was big damage in the rear of the car, and not a good thing to happen in first practice at all. And we were just saying earlier, if there's one corner on this track you really don't want to go off on, it's the last corner of the Porsche curves.
And then it happened.
I hope I didn't do the curse of the commentator on that one.
The old pointy hat syndrome. Watch out, everybody.
Don't go and tell him.
Yes.
Right, just to remind you, if you're just joining us, once the banter's finished, Tom Christensen fastest at the moment, 3:26. Now starting to dip towards those test day times. Quite cold here on the test day, then it rained in the afternoon, so most of the times were set, funnily enough, not just before the rain, but just after the rain, as they headed towards 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Red flags then brought the session to an end, didn't they, after Alan McNish, amongst others, had gone off.
Yeah, right at the end he went off, and no sign of that today though, and we're seeing a lot of fastest sector times coming in just now at the end of this practice session. So
we are. Dave Evans just popped in. Incidentally, the 2 cars also coming in with Tom Christensen on board. There it is, just picking it up for you right now. Yes, that battle. Let's just go back to it, shall we? Not with the Audis, but momentarily. Let's just talk about HPD, the Honda program, and indeed this discussion or indeed announcement from Honda that they're looking for official partners. If you wonder how that's going to work, well, think about Yost, think about Audi, and you kind of get the idea. It's a lot of money on the table, and Liz, there are 2 contenders at the moment. Well, I'll tell you then, Liz, it's Straker Racing.
Sorry, I was looking somewhere else just then.
JRM. I'm just talking about the 2 teams that would be hoping to pick up any kind of contract. And yeah, so it's adding a little bit of frisson, Mark, to those 2 teams and their ambitions, I think you might say, for the future, because it would be massive if they became essentially the Honda racing program.
Yeah, well, I'm going to take it past that. I went on a Honda factory tour about 3 weeks ago. Had a meeting down at Swindon, and Paul Ormond, who's the sort of corporate manager for Nissan Europe, he and I got chatting, and I was saying how brilliantly they're doing. He said, well, next year we want to come back officially. And I said, with which team? And he said, well, you've got 4 teams running, and it could be any of those. So we're increasing it from Stracker and JRM to level 5 and Starworks, of course.
And of course, one of the biggest things we first noticed when HPD came into sports car racing was how fast the engine was. The cars were fast straight out of the box.
Yeah.
One of the cars I remember specifically, I believe, was the Acura car in America that was running one, and just a really fast and reliable engine.
Yeah.
Well, they had some amazing engines, didn't they? Was it the VTEC that never ever had a single failure, despite millions being produced?
I asked them that on the factory tour, and they said that is absolutely correct. No VTEC part of a VTEC engine has ever failed.
There you are.
So, how about that? The chassis, of course, designed in Bicester, built in America, but designed in Bicester by Nick Wirth. And the big story 2 years ago was, of course, the cars had never been in a wind tunnel. They were all designed on CAD-CAM and wind tested on CAD-CAM. Quite extraordinary story. And they won Le Mans LMP2 with Stracker.
You can't do it with computers. Computers. Here's a man who's back of a fag packet when he started. But yes, very, very much the cutting edge these days, of course. Look at these machines.
And don't they just look amazing this year? I'm not trying to make the girl comment and say they look really cool, but they do. They just look all really cool.
There's the girl comment. Lena Gade, first ever woman race engineer to win Le Mans last year.
Yep.
She's from Harrow, and what a job she did last year.
Really amazing. She's earned her right to that position.
Lost 2 of the 3 cars. All the pressure was on her with the single car being chased down by these Peugeots, and she kept her team on the straight and narrow, quite literally, and they won the race.
It was a very emotional race for Audi, possibly one of the most emotional they've had after the 2 huge accidents. I don't remember Audi ever going through the drama they went through last year, you know, having that happen in very close succession as well. It was early in the race for both of them. I know it was at night for Rocky, but it wasn't long into a 24-hour, and I think it was possibly their most emotional win to still pull through with their last remaining car. And you know.
Yes. Interestingly, one of the guys said, on this night we went a little Italian. There we go. I don't know whether that's a way of just dissing any kind of opposition or not.
Incidentally, we bumped into Emanuele Pirro this afternoon.
Yes,
he's wandering around the paddock. He's here helping Audi as an ambassador, and just obviously itching to get back. He's doing some racing in Italy, but he just said he'd love to be back at Le Mans, but he knew his time had come a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but at least he enjoyed some wins, and what a gracious, amazing competitor he was. I still remember him standing on the podium and thanking Audi in both French and English, just to make sure everybody was a part of it, and just an amazing driver he is.
And as we heard Chris Parsons telling us, Derek Bell's back this weekend. That's going to be something, isn't it? Group C qualifying tomorrow and in the race on Saturday, and wouldn't it be wonderful if Derek could actually take that car to victory in the Group C Legends race?
Domay just about to go out. It's Sebastian Bourdais. You're just seeing some of the wheel vents there that now
he's just about to come in.
Oh, in fact, yes, he is. Well, you never know. We might have a brief chat. We'll see. Incidentally, it's absolutely verboten to go on the pit lane these days without a helmet. And those helmets that they're providing, I think it's an insurance job, to be honest. They almost look like they've nicked them off some skateboarders, the ones that are available to the camera crews.
It's very awkward, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's all Carlton's fault. The year he walked into someone's fuel rig with his head. His head was all right, but it completely ruined their fuel strategy.
Yes, I felt terrible about that.
Is this something they're thinking, what if someone gets run over? Did somebody get flattened last year? I don't remember that happening.
I think it's any kind of bumps, you're more likely to be okay if you've got a little bit of plastic on your head, and quite right too, I suspect. But yes, if you want to get down with the kids, just get yourself a press pass and get yourself onto the pit lane, because they are slightly groovy. You'll see them, I'm sure, popping up with some of our pit lane interviews, which we are unsighted for. So if you're wondering why we're being rude and talking over some people, that's the reason why.
Marco Bononomi then coming in, his debut here at Le Mans. He's been their test driver for the last year. He helped develop the Ultra and the R18 and the e-tron Quattro, all these names. So Marco getting his just desserts now. He got the race at Spa, and here he is racing at Le Mans.
I think once again, and we're going to have to do this a number of times, it's probably worth just talking about the performance differences between the e-trons and the Ultras within the Audi camp. 2 of each.
Yep, 2 of each. 1 hybrid, 1 not. 1 4-wheel drive, 1 not. Interestingly, they built the cars 100 kilos underweight. That's why they're called Ultras, ultra lightweight. The reason for that is so they could accommodate all the heavy flywheels and front wheel drive without going over the 900 limit, and it's worked well. Of course, what they had to do is with the regular Ultras, they've had to put huge amounts of ballast in, but that in itself is an advantage, isn't it? Because they can choose where to put it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I thought they had to put quite a lot of ballast into the hybrid car, actually, because it was quite a bit lighter with the different engine. The original Audi diesel engine is very, very heavy, which is one of the things they struggled with when they first arrived on the scene with the diesel, was dealing with what a huge different sort of weight ballast they had just from the engine. So certainly they'll be wanting to put that weight exactly where they can, and where they get to choose to put it.
It's 65 kilos. That's a large box of sandwiches.
Yeah, or a whole person.
That's you and me together,
that's
Carlton.
More than me.
Maybe one of my legs. Where would you put that?
Talking lots of sandwiches, here's the McDonald's car, one of the Labra cars, winners last year, of course.
Nice think, Mark.
In GTE.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I could just cover operation, just really, really good in the AM category over the last few years. Here's the number 2 car. McNish's just bought it in. Who's going to take it out?
Can I just make an interesting comment? I was just watching the screen. And then, well, I think it's interesting. That's all that matters. I saw in 4 different cars in succession, had a spin, went on it over the gravel somewhere, went off another place, all sort of at once. And I'm not sure if they've given us the information late, or if there's a reason behind that. If maybe there's a bit of oil down on the track, or it just did seem a bit odd that all of a sudden we had 4 different cars going off and doing things.
Yeah, however, for the time being, it's only the Fischer car and the Toyota, which was Anthony Davidson stepped out of the Brundle, heading off to a body shop.
Yep.
Near you.
It's near you. It's probably in Rouen.
Missing most of the back end of it.
Now, just looking at the Audi going out there, just to be absolutely clear, all 4 Audis are brand new cars. They're quite different to last year's Ultra. They called them Ultra last year, but these are new cars. And the principal change, Liz, is the height of the cockpit. They're giving the drivers more glass so they can see out. They had a lot of visibility problems last year.
Yeah, well, I think they were complaining about that a lot last year, and after Alan McNish's accident, I think they realised they had to listen, because clearly that was a big reason behind the accident that happened.
And in fact, we are riding with Alan McNish at the moment.
Yes,
he's gone back out. Now, the other thing the cars have got fitted, they've got rear view videos, not mirrors.
322 kilometres per hour, sorry. just had to exclaim.
Kazuki, how was your first stint?
Right, so it was a good run. I made some mistake, but I get much better feeling than last time, and my lap time was also quicker than last time. So I'm getting there, but it's shame that when I put the better tire, I hit the traffic a lot and didn't get the lap time. But the car, I think, has a good balance, and it's not far from Audi, so I think it's going well.
And for you, do you start to learn really well the track? You don't have any more mistake around it?
Well, it's difficult because the condition is always changing, so you really have to find the limit all the time. And but still, because it's a practice, so I could try something, and I learned from some mistakes. So yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be better for qualifying.
You were really focused on the data just now. What are you looking at?
Well, basically, I'm just following Nicola's pace and also some others' pace because yeah, just. Well, there's a telemetry, so I can see Nicola's driving and learn something from there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So just hearing there from our Japanese friend, Katayama. Mizuki Katayama, of course, son of Toshio Katayama, who has raced here in the past. And just while we're on the Japanese subject, here's the Nissan DeltaWing. And look at this car. This is Motoyama-san, another Japanese on board. He's showing that car with Marino Franchitti and with Mikael Krum.
Did you see
that? You did see that tire?
Skinny wheel.
No, it was not a tire off a 1960 historic car. It was, in fact, the front wheel of this car.
No, it was off a 2CV.
Off a 2CV, yes.
Yeah, there we are, out front. Our big worry about this was that the one tyre wear, which apparently is not an issue, but a significant amount of downforce generated by the entire vehicle. One would think that would be the case, but they say it's quite light up front.
Yeah, but
isn't that going to be a disadvantage?
It's all in the aero, Liz.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's an amazing sort of feat of physics they've done here, and I just can't. I look at it and I think it must just push on in front, but apparently it's all right in the dry. However, in the wet, I was speaking to Sam Smith sort of off air, and he said they did say it was rather challenging. They've driven in the wet at Snetterton, and they did say it was a little bit tricky, because he said basically the water doesn't disperse, it doesn't go anywhere, it just sits under the car. So
not what you want.
No, definitely not. So if this is a wet race, we may find this car really taking it easy.
Well, spearing into the gravel, it certainly would do.
Yeah.
We're just having a look at one of the Golf.
Mathieu Lehay, this is the 24 Morgan Judd, they call it. Just gone second fastest, by the way. He did the fastest Sector 1 time of any of the P2 cars, and he's now right behind the HPD of Potolici. Mathieu Lehay, of course, very, very experienced, second in LMP2 in 2010, and that was driving for Pescarolo. He's showing of Olivier Pla, and with the team owner Jacques Nicolet, who's the Monte Carlo television tycoon, and also a famed historic racer. But here we are.
Yes,
off it goes.
Yeah, it almost looks like a murder incident that they've drawn around here.
Drawn by the Baltimore police.
Yes, exactly. Away he goes with the light pod fixed. Thank heaven. Oh, hello. Little flashlight on the left-hand side. I don't know if that's an indicator. We'll have to take a break. We'll keep an eye on it. Let you know if he manages to get round. Welcome back. We've got 10 minutes of this opening practice session. Then we'll be taking a hiatus of a couple of hours, and then we will be back for opening qualifying here. We've got a yellow flag because the 16 car at the moment is in a bit of bother down at the second chicane.
Yeah, in fact,
it's a place that's been catching out quite a few.
We think there's some oil there because Andre Lotterer, who's now on board the #1 Audi, he's just gone straight on at the second chicane, and now, as you say, we've got
number 16 is of our friend Stuart Hall driving that car. I'm not sure who's in the car at the moment, but that is not looking good for them indeed. This car has been sort of thrown together at the last minute again. It's been a real last minute thing. Stuart was only put in the car a couple of weeks ago.
It's Jean-Christophe Bouillon on board at the moment.
Bouillon, which is currently running slowest of the LMP ones.
Yeah.
I know this has been a bit of a tricky project for them, and they were all sort of thinking, well, I hope we're going to finish. Sort of one of those deals, and it looks like they've got a problem.
Well, I think it's all a legacy, isn't it, from last year's AMR1 problems. It's all to do with installations and all the ancillary stuff. Interestingly, the DeltaWing, that's also one of those chassis from last year, but they come at it from a completely different angle, re-engineered everything. Ben Bowlby, who used to be chief designer at Lola, he's put his magic on that car, and they apparently, as far as we can see, apart from having to change your front wheels, they're having a trouble-free run.
I think they've probably mostly the main thing they've got is the tub. They've probably not kept it. And I hear the tub was very good. So Tubtastic.
Incidentally, Aston Martin boss David Richards is here this weekend. He's racing in the Aston Martin Challenge race on Saturday. We won't be bringing you on that, unfortunately, on Eurosport, but that is one of the support races along with the Group C legends.
There's a magnificent amount of busyness around the week here, incidentally. I remember having smoked salmon and scrambled egg once in the press room. I carried it over from Audi Hospitality. It was ever so nice. And I heard a rumble at 5 in the morning on a Friday. It was the Aston Martin Owners Club coming by. I don't know who they'd paid to lift the barrier, but through they got, and they looked like they were having fun. There was I think I was the only spectator. Anyway, back to reality, and here we go. Just over 10 minutes of this session remaining.
Nick Lapierre out in the Toyota. It's the only one that's running at the moment. Other one, as we've mentioned to you before, with Ant Davidson, been sidelined with some transmission issues. But they've got 2 hours to sort those out. Well, they've had a lot more than 2 hours, because this must have happened over an hour ago.
And so far, we're not seeing the times we quite expected from those Toyotas. I thought they'd be sort of in the top 3 in practice, but whether or not they're just trying to see where the car is at right now and look after it before the qualifying, or if that's all they've got, I don't know. We'll have to wait until we see it. And I think we're going to go for an interview with Henri Pescarolo himself any minute now, so we'll look forward to that.
Well, would you say one of your problems? Are you having difficulties? Got any other news for us? I haven't got any connection at the moment, so we're still waiting to find out what's happened. The other car seems to be going okay, he says. Seems that all's progressing well, thankfully. Brief one there, sorry about that, but delighted, not delighted, but happy with one of the cars anyway. So still plenty of questions to be asked, very early days. Clearly just developing that incident. We'll see how serious it is. Yellow flag remaining, incidentally, and it's actually just been moved, the yellow flag.
At 60.
Yeah, exactly.
It's at Marshal's Post 60, which is the entrance.
Oh, yes.
Well, it's the middle of the second chicane, which is still called the Michelin chicane.
We're on board here with the e-tron Quattro. We may well get to pick up some incidents with the onboard camera, because it's the only thing that operates throughout the track here. All static camera points have not been installed just for the time being. Indeed, security apart from anything else. It's a lot of cable, it is a lot of very expensive kit, and when it's a 24-hour race, of course, it's manned 24 hours, but you can't keep people just standing around guarding the equipment in the build-up to the race, so not all the track covered by cameras just for now.
And as we saw from last year, not all the track is covered anyway. We really struggled to see shots of Mike Rockenfeller's crash, where he was last year, is really not somewhere where they would normally have a lot of cameras, so it's difficult on such a big circuit to cover it all.
Well, we understand that British Eurosport viewers will be departing from us just before the end of this session. It is the opening practice. I understand we have an Olympic magazine for you to enjoy. You will, of course, be able to find us a little bit later as part of the Eurosport family. Just get your remote control out and just check your Eurosport channels to find out where we are sitting. Mark Cole has suddenly arrived with the note.
We've got the schedule, haven't we, here? And
off you pop then.
Here we are. We're back on then at
British Eurosport tonight. You will be seeing us on Eurosport 2. Oh, hello. The 2 car, just as we're busy looking at schedules, getting himself busy with Alan McNish on board as well. Alan. Yeah,
don't want to see a repeat of the practice, do we?
No, he won't be wanting to see a repeat of that as well. Very, very quickly back and up to pace by the looks of things here. It's on the e-tron Quattro, the number 2 car.
I've just seen what I believed was a Toyota going by us in front of us here, out of the Ford chicane, with a fair bit of smoke coming out of the back of the car.
Which
It looks like one of the Toyotas. I only saw fleeting glimpse.
One of the vehicles has had a minor fire, we understand, earlier on. Here we are, Alan McNish. Well, it wasn't that bad. It looked a bit more serious because I joined it visually about that point.
It's about the right place if you're going to go over something. Just sort of skipping out part of the chicane.
He'll be angry with himself.
That'll be a braking situation.
Yes, he was straight back on to the gas, as you saw.
And this could be some of what we've been talking about. They're having to adjust their driving technique for, the new handling characteristics of the hybrid, and perhaps that's, that heavy braking zone. That might be one of the things he's dealing with. Exactly.
Well, they had a day's running 2 weeks ago, didn't they? So
time for us to bid a fond farewell to our viewers on British Eurosport. Don't forget, we will be back for the opening qualifying session a little later on. If you can't find it on your first choice of Eurosport channel, check out the other. Well, the rest of the Eurosport family staying with us here, and the clean-up job goes on in the evening sunshine, dappled light, I think you might describe it as. There we are.
We're everywhere, aren't we? Asia, Australia, Singapore. Let's say hi to Timothy Parsons, Chris's son, who lives in Singapore. They've just had Jensen, their son, and we know Timothy's watching tonight, so or tomorrow, it's early morning, of course, already in Singapore now. So hope you're enjoying it, Timbo. And here we are, the 17 car, that dome again, very, very good-looking car.
You, Vex, I think that's a cycling helmet. You can't get away with that.
I should have brought my riding hat. Someone could have borrowed it.
Exactly. I think it's just helmet full stop. I don't think it's a...
you could have made a killing, Liz.
It's not necessarily fireproof, clearly, if the skateboarders are getting a look in here. There we are. There's just about everything going on, as you can see. So we are drawing to the end of this session. I don't know whether they're just going to head out for one more run here. There's too many cameras around it to look like it's going to get it back into action. Back into the pits comes Alan McNish in the 2 car. Let's just see how much gravel they hoik out of this one.
Yeah, it means both the 1 and 2 car have both been off at the 2 separate chicanes within the space of 5 minutes of each other. So
interesting, isn't it? It's exactly what you were saying, Liz. Maybe just bedding their brains in, mapping themselves for the characteristics of the car.
Which is both the hybrids.
Yeah, it must be a very difficult thing to do when you're used to... I know their cars have been different every year, but there's still the same physics supply, and I'm guessing that's been a really interesting changeover for these drivers. I mean, they're the best in the world. Come on, you can't knock them down for that, but it's going to be an interesting 24-hour race for them, and I think hopefully they've just been trying to find their way in the practice a bit, save the extra for the qualifying, and hopefully they've learned a bit here, and we're not going to see some troubles in the race.
Yeah, hugely experienced, of course, and you kind of know instantaneously where and when and how you can back out. And clearly Alan just decided that at that point in particular, as the fans go in and the gravel gets cleared out, it was the best line to take. Well, appears to be no damage to the vehicle anyway. Back in. We'll see how they go. Just over 3.5 minutes to go, Mark. And suddenly we've got some sunshine, which bodes well for a pleasant dinner. Yeah,
absolutely beautiful weather here now in West France, would you believe? It's been dreadful 10 days of rain. We have got more rain forecast, but together with sunshine over the next 3 or 4 days. So, Liz, we could be looking at a wet race. We may not. It's just...
Do you know, you can never tell with Le Mans. I've been here so many times when people have said, oh, it's going to be a wet race, and every day the weather forecast changes. So I don't think we're going to know very much until about 3 o'clock on Saturday.
Yeah, we're still close enough to the Atlantic coast, aren't we, for the weather to change, as you say, daily. The forecast to change daily.
Absolutely. You know what? Lapierre is not hanging around at all out there, and this is a chance for Toyota to just get some bragging rights out there, stick in a couple of quick ones, and just let the boys in the Silver Garage worry a little bit.
Yeah, they ran a 327 at the test day, and they haven't dipped below 328 at the moment, 328.4. So, as you say, bragging rights.
Yeah, you never know. They certainly look committed.
Yeah.
There's the Deltawing. You're going to be seeing an awful lot of that until it stops. One presumes it might.
Well, we just don't know at this stage, do we? I mean, I think even they would understand if it stopped. They've come to showcase the car, to have it at Le Mans. It's here and it's at Le Mans. It's amazing. Look at it.
550 kilos. The next lightest car is 900 kilos.
Which is why they aren't in contention, because they aren't sort of having to, conform to the actual rules of each class. And one might say, I don't know how all the drivers feel about that, because my worry is, what if this car was involved in some sort of little bang-up or an accident, and it's not a classified race car?
Told you he was pushing. Look at
that.
that.
Yeah.
Couple of shimmies out there. That looked like a dampish part of the circuit for Lapierre as well.
They're not coming out. The flags coming out in 1.5 minutes, so there'll be no point in the 24 car
Looks
coming
like
out again.
Missing from the front of that.
Mathieu Lehay.
Yes.
I think that's the back end we're seeing propped against the front.
Yep. What an ugly design.
Yeah.
Here we are, e-tron Quattro in action with the knives and forks to the fore. Listen to it. It's a strange old sound.
It should be 3-tron because they've had 2-tron films already.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
I think we'll put that one back in the box. That's a 10p. You're going to have to pay 10p for that one.
Have a look at the running clock there. Give you an idea of the times that Lotterer is doing at the moment.
And we've got another yellow flag out.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure what that's for.
61 again. That's
gosh, listen to that.
Second chicane.
Yes, it's almost fingers down the blackboard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Porsche curves mighty through there.
See what I mean? There we are.
Car's got so much.
I'm just admiring the grip level. That's why I'm being quiet. I'm watching it. Just going, man, it's really
front end is
fast
just
through the Porsche curves.
Front end is just
amazing.
Pulling it through, isn't it?
Yeah, just amazing.
Corvette, oh dear me, coming in. Also, the 38 car's just dropped back in here.
In fact, while we're watching that, Lotterer has just done a 3:25. He's matched the test day times. Did a fantastic last session. A 79-second final sector. The best next person.
What about that?
Look at that. And then the checkered flag
81.
is out.
Yeah.
Just throwing down that lap time to give everyone an idea of what they have coming for the qualifying.
And that was all through the Porsche curves he gained that.
Yeah, but the Porsche curves, that is the place that you lose or gain time at Le Mans more than anywhere else.
You remember last year, Audi were gaining a second a lap on the Peugeots through Toyota curves, and that's Toyota curves.
And that's that extra
Porsche,
grip level,
that's
I think.
what won them the race. Yeah.
You've got the grip through the Porsche curves, you can be flat for most of it, and that's where the time comes.
Practicing his pit entry there was Ian Yetta, and he's just flat spotted a perfectly good set of tyres. We've just had the pit entry, incidentally. Mark mentioned it earlier, alluded to it, that we have changed our commentary position here as we get back on with e-tron Quattro #1. It's Lotterer still out there.
There is some mighty locking up coming into the pit lane, isn't there? So quite impressive.
I think that's another place where you can really lose or gain some time. You've got to be hot right up to the line where you've then obviously got to be limited on your speed through the actual pit lane, but too many people forget that that is a really important part of a 24-hour race. It's keeping every second that you can.
Well, we're just into that glorious final minute. Just watching the DeltaWing go by. I wouldn't mind seeing what the time is on the Zero car with it's Crump just for now. He's about to cross over the line in just a few moments' time. And I think he has, in fact, he's 7 seconds slower than the quickest lap that they've set out there.
Even with new tyres on.
Yeah, exactly. So work still to be done, clearly. It is a unique category, the Zero category.
But star of tonight's practice session has been Andre Lotterer,
spinner.
last year's winner.
Spinner just coming in.
One of the Corvettes.
One of the vets has just spun as it. There he is, and
he's right in front of us. In
absolutely,
fact,
which is
not the factory cars, but one of the Labra cars. Who's on board the 70
this
car?
This is going to be a bit tricky for him because I'm guessing he's trying to come into pit lane, and it's sort of right on the entry.
Well, at that moment, as we just take ourselves a pirouette, it's time to dance our way off. The session has closed.
2 hours.
We'll be back in 2 hours with the first qualifying session. Hope to see you then.
We have a stalled car on
my name is Stereo Mike.
Yeah, we got 3 tickets to the Brand Van concert happening this Monday night at the Pacific Palisades. You can all in if you want to answer a couple of questions. Mainly, what is Todd's favorite cheese? Jackie just called up and said it was a form of Roquefort. Let's see about that.
Give us a ring ding ding. It's a beautiful day.